But here's where the content management system actually comes into play. There's tools, but then there's also videos. Some of these tools could be related to specific videos, and you're not managing this stuff like independently. You are relating that specific tool to those specific videos, all on the back end, and then you're just setting the singles up to show those relationships. Hey there, welcome back to another video here. A special one today, special series, episode 1. As you can see, we have Christian Taylor, aka Craylor, with us today. Christian, thank you for stopping by the channel. Greatly appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah. All right, so let me kind of give you a little bit of high level, and I want to kick it to Christian because this is all about him, really. This is all about his website, his web presence, and we're going to do some really cool stuff here. But to set the stage for you guys, if you are an agency owner, freelancer, or even somebody that's just building your own personal brand, Christian is somebody that you should honestly model a lot of your stuff off of. He's done a fantastic job building his YouTube audience through content and just an incredible amount of work, relationships, all sorts of stuff. I've had the pleasure of getting to know him much more and actually learning a lot from him over the past, I don't know what it's been, maybe like 6 months at this point, a little bit more. Met at WordCamp US 2024. And we've been to several events since then, and we're going to be more here moving forward. But in between all of that, we're creating content, we're doing these types of things. The interesting thing about Christian is that he is I would call it, and you could help me through this, like a little bit of technology, software, but also a specialization kind of intertwined in that in WordPress. And the interesting thing is that he has several different web properties that we're going to look at here in this series. We're going to look at it with more of an a web design audit lens, because that's more my background from the agency side of things. That is the opposite of Christian's. He loves the technology, but hasn't actually been, maybe like you guys watching, a freelancer or anything. A little bit of freelance work, if I remember correctly, but not like like an agency. That's not the main thing that Christian does. So in this series, we are going to be auditing and looking at the web presence that Christian has put out here, and hopefully improving it heavily, because there's a lot of really good stuff here. There's a little bit of things that are scattered around, and we can consolidate a lot of that and hopefully make it a lot more impactful just from, the next iteration of, Christian and the Craylor brand. So I'm really excited. Christian, again, thank you so much for being here. Let me know, was that a good synopsis of kind of what you want to achieve here? I mean, this just came together here in the last week or so, and I know that you're excited to try out some new different tooling and things like that and kind of rebuild. So give me a little bit more of the background from your perspective on and tell the audience how this kind of came to be.
Yeah, that was a fantastic introduction. Thank you so much. So to give a little bit of context around craylor.com, my current website, how I got here. In the past, I've just had a portfolio site more for brands than viewers. So, if you're looking to sponsor content, here's my work, testimonials, press kit, that sort of thing. And I realized over the years, I desperately needed a website for viewers to go to as a resource to see all the tools that I recommend in one place, link out to Craylor Academy, which is my online education site, Craylor Shop, where you can buy these rad hats, just all the resources that a viewer would be looking for. So this website, I think I launched it a year and 3 months ago. I think it was top of 2024. And it was my best attempt at sort of leveling up my knowledge in WordPress. So before this website, I was doing everything with WP Bakery. I know everyone can cringe. It's okay. Yes, I get it. But that was where I was at with my knowledge, is doing everything with WP Bakery. Had never tried ACF before. The concept of a dynamic page didn't really exist to me. Again, cringe. I know, but I really was using WordPress like a blogging platform, like a static page platform. Sure, I used contact form plugins and a couple other dynamic ones, but I wasn't really leveraging the power of WordPress to do things dynamically. So this was my first attempt at really leveling up the knowledge. I switched to Elementor. I brought in ACF. I used the dynamic loop grid builder. So one of the things that was a must-have on this site I was really excited about was this Christian's Picks section. So introducing, again, like I get it, these pages are really basic, but it was revolutionary for me at the time this is all dynamically built. So these are custom post types. The loop grid builder and Elementor made it so I could just design this one block and just repeat this section over and over. So it was a great upgrade from where I was at. But over the past year, I've learned a lot more about WordPress. I've learned there may be better page builders than Elementor. Nothing against Elementor. I think it's a great fit for some people. But for what I'm trying to do, it may not be powerful enough. And there may be more advanced tools than ACF. I've also learned a lot about accessibility. This site was not at all optimized with accessibility in mind. I haven't even run accessibility tests on it because I'm pretty sure it would break a lot of rules, and I'm planning on redoing it anyway. But even the concept that, H1, H2, H3, those all have orders for a reason. I didn't get that concept until about 2 weeks ago. I honestly always thought H1 was, or the heading size you pick was more like the font size that you want on the page. So there's a lot to get into. I know that was a ton. We haven't even touched on like performance and SEO and all that yet, but yeah, that's just kind of a brief overview of where the site is at, and yeah, I have a lot of goals for where I'd like it to go too.
Awesome. Sweet. Yeah. I mean, again, appreciate the context there. I think that the listeners will value that heavily because everyone starts, a couple things that I got from that. Everyone starts at, wherever they start, whether it's Elementor, WP Bakery. It depends when you literally discover WordPress. And then it depends on what you discover in WordPress as you go through. Like maybe you have a friend that likes, like Divi or something like that. And you just start there. So everybody's journey is different. Everybody, it takes time to learn and figure things out. There's no shame in that. So, I think that is again, just great context there. I think that from to kind of give like an idea of what we're going to do here. Obviously, like you said, this is built in Elementor. You just purchased licenses for like Bricks, ACSS, Crocoblock, all these things. Again, a lot of these different tools, we'll have links to everything in the description of the videos and in the series and everything if you want to check any of them out. Some of them might have some sales going on, obviously, too, so check that. We'll try to mention that as much as possible. But ultimately, you can use multiple different tools for all this. I do want to stress that when we get to the actual building, we are going to be using certain tools. If you don't like those tools, then maybe don't use those tools. Find an alternative, look for other videos, what have you. But what I really like to do, and what I try to do as much as possible in these types of videos when we're trying to educate, and specifically in this case, because we have a perfect example to go off of, I would implore you, the viewer, the listener here, to actually like take the concepts in, and then if you want to apply different tools to create those concepts and to do those types of things, then you can do that. There's going to be a lot of things here where I think we should probably touch on kind of like some of the other pain points that Christian has mentioned to me off camera, and as we were preparing, some of these other things that, if you're trying to build a brand for yourself, for your client, for whatever, you need to like constantly kind of be thinking about these things, especially if you're doing it at scale. Things like, again, SEO is just a big buzzword, but specifically like Christian currently, we can segue right into this. Christian currently came to me and he had like kind of an issue right now with the way that his web properties are laid out. There's multiple websites is effectively what I mean by that. There's multiple different websites. They're all trying to do different things. They all have different levels of and different specific things that they're trying to do, whether it's courses or shop or whatever, like he described. And the trouble that's happening there is craylor.com is effectively kind of a little bit of a ghost site in a way. It's a little thin. There's not a ton of content on here, even though Christian has an incredible following and like audience on YouTube. It always doesn't correlate one-to-one with like, when your web presence is set up, like, because, so for instance, like I don't know, Christian, if you want to just hover over some of the things on the website here, click on some of these links, like Watch Now,
Yeah.
that goes to YouTube. I
Yep.
noticed this the other day as we were preparing for all this. So like that goes to YouTube. If we go back, then Christian's picks, those ones are on the actual like websites here, like on the actual website. But each one of those links, those are basically archives, the email hosting or maybe their pages, but they're effectively archives for those different things. But then when you click on them, they don't have singles. They go directly to the thing, which again, not all this is bad necessarily, but the core concept here and the thing to understand is the more actual physical, we'll call them screens because pages is weird, but like the amount of like URLs or screens that you have on your website, the better for you generally. Now you don't want it to be shit content, obviously, but the more rich that it can be, the better chance that you're going to have of Google picking those things up, actually indexing your stuff properly. There's separate stuff we need to talk about there with search index or Google Search Console, which we'll get into and everything. But those are some of the things that I saw initially too. If you just hover over a couple more of those, Christian, like
Yep.
store goes
That
out
goes
to,
somewhere else.
this is a different website. Now, again, it's
Yeah.
still a property that Christian owns, but this is a different website. So that's another thing to consider. And then if you go to Craylor Academy, that's another
Yeah.
website, another website.
Excuse
So,
me.
so I mean, here's the thing. This is no, again, we're learning here. This is not like this is not a critical thing, a critique necessarily. This is just understanding when you look at a website, okay? If you look at a website and you're trying to help a client or whatever, right? If you adopt something like this, if like Christian was your client, Christian comes to you, you have to be able to explain and articulate to them why they are not getting enough traffic, enough ranking, enough whatever. It's because even though this website has a lot of like links and like it's not like just one page with two things on it. There's links, there's places that this stuff goes. It's not all on the same domain. Therefore, that domain doesn't really have a good enough, a great chance of ranking because it doesn't have a great chance of building authority through the content that it has. So all these are opportunities. They're not bad things. It's just we have to understand, and this is part of that audit that we kind of do here to understand what's kind of going on here. So it is important also to set the scene that not too long ago, because this is the other part of that story, right, Christian, is
Mhm.
explain to me the changeover that you had. You had, what was it, CraylorMade.com? Explain that whole changeover and like what your, very recently your stuff was, and then you saw a little bit of a blip in kind of like the SEO world and everything we're talking about here.
Yeah, so when you search CraylorMade on Google, what is now Craylor.com used to rank, I believe it was second, so right where Craylor.media is, CraylorMade, the website, used to rank. I was able to purchase Craylor.com. That's been a branding goal of mine for several years, and I was able to purchase it secondhand. The owner wanted thousands of dollars for the longest time, but I think maybe it changed hands to a different portfolio. I saw the price was a lot more reasonable, so I was able to purchase that this year. And I was stoked. I thought, hey, shorter domain, that's cool. People call me Craylor. The Craylor brand is so strong that I thought Craylor.com would be the cool domain to have. And I still believe that, but after I made that domain change several months ago, I think it was beginning of March at this point, ever since then, when you search CraylorMade, Craylor.com is nowhere to be found. We've got the YouTube channel, Craylor.media. That's my website more for sponsors, press kit, that kind of thing. My X profile, Craylor.academy. I mean, honestly, like first page of Google here, Craylor.com is nowhere to be found. I've put it in Google Search Console. I've made sure that it's re-indexed to the pages. I've checked the meta title and description. So I'm not sure what's going on here. This is why I started kicking around this idea with Mark. And he pointed out that the content on the site is thin. So on one hand, I absolutely want to address that with the new site build. On the other hand, I still kind of have these questions of, okay, but this is the way the site has always been, and it used to rank when it was CraylorMade.com. So is it purely the domain or what's going on here? But one thing that I want to point out, kind of getting into where the site could go, I've never loved that my homepage is not the most interactive. It doesn't have content on it other than what almost feels like placeholders. I would love this section to actually show maybe like a carousel, a slider of the product recommendations themselves rather than just, click a category and see what it says. So this homepage, as Mark has pointed out for a lot of my site, I don't know that it's fluff. That may be a little bit too strong of a description, but it's not the most helpful. It does feel like a lot of placeholders where someone has to click to really get to the information they want. And that's a big thing that I would like to address with the new site.
Gotcha. We'll put a pin in that because I think that's definitely a good thing. I mean, again, design is, design, and I would call that borderline like UX, because like you want to make sure that when people come to the site, they actually have to see what they want. And again, it's a little bit of a science, a little bit of an art form. So definitely something that I kind of agree with there. You definitely want to give them an easy way into doing that. And we'll talk about that. And I'm also going to make a note too when we get to that point for CTAs and everything like that, because I think the other big thing is, so your main business here is content creation. Now this brings up another interesting topic as we're doing our audit here and our discovery, is that your business model is creating content. And then you and I are familiar with this, maybe the YouTubers are. What comes from that is YouTube ad revenue, sponsorship, affiliate. Again, you have like courses and things like that that you've worked on and you're working on further. A little bit of merch sales, like all these different like income streams necessarily. Blessing and a curse, because the other problem that we've seen a little bit in here, and I'm not sure if it's still up in a tab up there, is there's craylor.com currently, and then there's craylor.media. Now, the reason you did this is because they're kind of two separate audiences, right? Craylor.com is kind of more audience facing. Craylor.media is more of brand facing and things like that. I'm going to put out the hypothesis right now that what we're looking at is actually a really nice thing that a brand, like I think this is objectively like a pretty interesting, cool website here, like the stats and everything like that, like regardless of design and all that sort of stuff, like just what we're looking at here seems like something a brand that potentially would want to partner with you and sponsor some content and work together. This is probably what they're looking for. Now we could dissect it further, but this is solid. Honestly though, my thought process with you is if we bring all of this under one domain, or like very, very close as much as possible, I think you're just going to have a way better experience. Like you could segment the website a little bit where you put it towards like here, let's think of it like this. If an audience member of yours wants to go find out your tools, you're going to point them over there. They're going to go to craylor.com. They're going to see it. They're going to find it, like as long as you make it easy and everything like that. If a brand is going to see you, they're going to see your content. A brand isn't probably like, obviously you're bigger, but like my point is, like in most situations like this, for other people that are trying to do these types of things, a brand is going to see the content. So at that point in the journey, they're kind of an audience member, right? And then they're like, okay, maybe we can also sponsor this. That's when that would flip. So they should probably just go to the same website. There's probably no real reason. I mean, maybe there's some corner cases, but I don't really know if there's like a real strong reason to segment out that content, especially at this point. I think at least bringing craylor.media under craylor.com, I think that's probably a really good way to go.
Yeah.
You could always still use that domain to redirect to like the website or a specific page on the website. But I think if we were designing, we're not really there yet, but if we were designing like the site map, so to speak, I think having craylor.com/press kit, even craylor.com/ like sponsorships or media or something, and then maybe putting sub pages underneath that or something like that, like whatever that stuff is, right? We would go over to craylor.media, we would look at the several different like pages or areas that we would need, and then just dumping that onto the main domain. I don't think you need a separate website. The big thing I want to make point of there is managing a separate website is, potentially not for a lot of people that big of a deal. If you have it hosted on your, whatever hosting platform you have it on, you maybe some tools intertwined there. But for me, unless I have to make another whole website and on another whole domain, I don't really want to, because of now I'm splitting up authority and like domain authority and reputation, all that sort of stuff. And I'm also making it more difficult for me to manage in a lot of ways, because now you have two separate WordPress installs, you have two different sets of plugins, you have two different sets of all that. Just a real quick aside here. I don't know if you can say necessarily where you're hosting any of this stuff, but like, how do you manage because as a non-agency owner minded person, how do you manage the plugins and the updates and everything? Is everything just set to auto update, or how does that all work?
You're gonna cringe. Honestly, there is no strategy. Sometimes I'll log into a site and find that the plugins haven't been updated for 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to leverage auto updates. I think like WordFence and the more critical plugins are on auto update. But Yeah, I mean, they're all hosted in different places. They all have different plugin stacks. Like this website is still the more legacy method that I used. WP Bakery, a WP Bakery theme that I really liked. Um, probably like different plugins to accomplish stuff because this site is older than Craylor.com. The one thing I'll say, this is just the nerd in me who enjoys tinkering and trying different products. I think part of the reason that I have so many web properties and I've enjoyed it is simply because they all have different web hosts, and I love that because I'm able to get that different experience, always be evaluating performance and customer support. And I get that's probably not going to land with most people. It's like, why would you want that? Don't you want everything in one place? But for me, I've found that I really enjoy sort of like forcing me to test multiple web hosts at any given time. I totally agree with you though that simplifying Craylor.media and Craylor.com is probably a necessary step. I would like to get your opinion on Craylor.academy and Craylor.shop. Do you think that's the same case for those? Because that starts to get into a more complicated conversation with this being heavily designed around Lifter LMS and this being WooCommerce. I feel like that's starting to get really complicated to merge those into the same site as well.
Yeah, so a lot of points there. I do want to touch on Academy and Shop. I want to go back though for a second to kind of what you're thinking about with to touch on the hosting piece. Okay, so like you're in a particular interesting situation because you do this for a living. Like part of your job, right? Part of the ways that you get paid occasionally with sponsorships and things is literally to test hosting and all that sort of stuff. So here's where I or somebody else could give any level of advice, but ultimately it's really you have to make the call because it's your business and it's your life, really. My recommendation would be that on these types of, I would call this stuff at this point in your journey, and you're just, I mean, you're still very young. Like at this point in your journey of personal branding and your brand, you have like these are mission critical things. Now, again, you don't have millions of people going to these websites necessarily, but again, with the different like issues that we talked about here already in the onset, like those things are easy wins once you get them set up to make sure that analytics are good, make sure that organic reach is good and all that sort of stuff, like ranking and all that. So my point is like if I were you, I wouldn't want to mess around with Craylor.com or any of the other like core things that you're doing. Now, in some ways, again, maybe the academy, maybe the shop isn't like huge revenue drivers. Maybe they are little projects, but they're still yours. Like if I were you, I would probably spend more time like doing or having somebody else set up like almost like contracting out like some other like mini brand that's like more of a test pet project and do your testing on that situation. Just because again, I think the way that I see personal branding and these web type of properties like markszymanski.co for instance, like I want to make sure that thing is stable. I don't want that going down. I don't want that like I don't want anything messing with that. I don't want that to be a playground of any sort. I don't want it to be experimentation. That's just the way that I am. And I think most whatever the thing that's most attached to the brand that you're making money through, I think that that's probably the way to go. That would be my overall recommendation. But again, you got to make that call for yourself. And to parlay into what you were saying about the academy and the shop, good questions. What I would at minimum do is, again, I would go back to Craylor.com being the epicenter and the hub of everything you do. So if I was rebuilding Craylor.com, if we're trying to think about that, you would have the stuff that you have there now, obviously, but some of the links wouldn't go out. But like you would have, that's a good starting point, like just like something that is you, it would like probably say Craylor more and all that sort of stuff. Like it would say a lot more of like we would have to get more content is effectively what I'm saying. We would take in the Craylor.media content. We would put that into a segment of Craylor.com that again, like /press, /sponsorship, / all that sort of stuff. Then we would the next thing I would do is I would move into the Craylor Academy. If you want to pop over to that tab, here's what I see here. The way that most places do this is they utilize their main domain, Craylor.com in this instance, as the marketing channel for the courses. So the interesting thing about craylor.academy here is that you're doing both the marketing and I'm assuming the hosting on the same platform, right? So
Correct.
like so like in this installation of WordPress on craylor.academy, you are you are hosting the content, the actual courses and everything using Lifter, but you're also marketing the courses on the same thing. Now I'm going to tell you what you could go that route. But the problem with that route is that again, we go back to the authority, we go back to how Google or even like AI now scrapes the internet. Even though Craylor is in both of these domains, there's not really like a good link between them other than just like maybe they're associated here and there on the internet. But if you took all of the marketing content from this academy .academy install in this domain and put all of this over into craylor.com under like courses or something like that, and again made almost like a mini segment of that website with all of that content on there, now craylor.com is so much heavier in content, even though it's just course stuff, and maybe that's your main thing. Now the internet, again, I'm using ridiculous terms here, but now like the scraping that is going on the internet is associating this directly with you and your main domain, and you're just like stacking authority on that domain and on your name because it's all kind of under one roof now. That would be my thing. Now the next question you're going to ask is, okay, Mark, well, should I put Lifter LMS on my main site and actually host things on there? The answer is you could, but I agree with you. It could start to get messy pretty fast. I would say pretty much the industry standard that I see there is put the marketing part on your website. Can you go to like a course like you were just at here on this? If you go to like
Yeah.
courses, so
Uh-huh.
imagine kind of like all of this is kind of for the most part on yours. But then what happens when you hit enroll now? Does it like bring up as soon as you get to this part though, it's like think about like you'd have to decide where it's at because like if this is all Lifter, then
Hmm.
you would be in Lifter. But effectively, it's like every other platform that uses. The reason we get messed up here is because we're doing everything in WordPress. But if you were doing this in Circle or you were doing this in School, it would be very simple. You would market everything on the website. And then as soon as they click a button to enroll, you would push them to the platform. So you got to think about it the same way. If you want to self-host your courses, then you could make that at Craylor Academy. You could actually get rid of everything on this website, like basically take the marketing stuff, put it on your main domain, and then just craylor.academy is literally a sign in effectively. When they go to
Yep.
that, it's just a sign in or it's just maybe like a sign up or something like that or whatever. Like you have minimal things there. But all I'm
Sure.
saying is if you actually wanted to leverage your courses, from an authority play, you're losing out because none of that actual content is living on your main domain and your main website. So it's just
Yeah.
like you're making it harder than it needs to be. So that's the main thing that I would say there. The only other industry standard, which maybe yours is different because you have all these different domains and they're kind of cool because they have different TLDs. The industry standard would be like courses dot
Right.
craylor.com or
Yeah.
academy.craylor, which is just a subdomain. It's the same. That part, I mean, I honestly don't know if that would be like better. I think maybe you get a little bit of spillover because it's a subdomain of the
Hmm.
thing. And if you really want to do that, then you would just, again, that's a different install though. I mean, that's just like
Sure.
this. It's just different install on a new website and it's just a subdomain. And then maybe you could redirect craylor.academy if you wanted to as well. You can always do redirects, but I'm a little indifferent. I would honestly need to even like look that up if there's any benefit to not using craylor.academy and using academy.craylor.com or something. But my point is that that's a big thing. You have a decent amount of like good information on here that's marketing data, and I think that all needs to go on the main website if you want to continue to have some level of a course presence.
Yeah,
So
I
does that make
love.
sense?
Oh, it totally makes sense, and I've never
Yeah.
thought about it that way. I
Mm.
love how you brought in the circle analogy, because
Yeah.
you're right. You would build a marketing page in WordPress or whatever
Mm.
platform. You would link out to Circle. It's like Circle, or in this case, Lifter LMS, and this installation of WordPress is the interactive dashboard, but all the marketing itself should be on Craylor.com. Absolutely agree. That blew my mind. I've
Mm.
never thought about that before.
Cool. Awesome. So I think I would say, okay, so then we're kind of in agreement there. That makes sense. Now, if we go over to the shop one, so here's where the shop gets interesting. This is built WooCommerce, just another installation, right?
Yep.
So here's another thing too so I'm going to assume, are you doing like a lot of volume with with this at all?
No.
No. Okay.
This is a pet project here. I mean, this I haven't sold a hat in probably a year.
I gotcha. Okay. So I mean, if this is just an addition, then I would say business decision wise, you have to decide like, do I actually want to put this on my website or not? I don't think it would be a bad idea to put it on your website. Um, E-commerce is a little different. I mean, I think courses being in a different on a different install or on a different platform, like we can make some arguments. There's a lot of really good people that are like killing it with, external platforms and even just like, again, communities or whatever that are elsewhere. But with e-commerce, I like the idea of building the e-commerce platform into your website because e-commerce is a little closer. This is Woo. There's other options as well. There's North Commerce, there's SureCart. Depending on what you're selling, what you need, like there's another whole conversation there with the e-commerce side of things. There's not a lot going on here, and you're probably not going to build like a whole entire like store. You're probably just going to build like some level of merch.
Hmm.
If you wanted simplicity, I'm going to say something blasphemous. If you wanted the simplest option, it's probably Shopify.
Yeah.
But do you need Shopify? You probably don't, because when I think of Shopify, I think of simple, but I also think of like powerful, just e-commerce though. You really can't do anything else. This current install of this website looks like it's literally just pure e-commerce. There's no real content management other than products or anything like that. So you could just leave this like this. But again, let's talk about business decisions because that's where most of this should come from. When was the last time you touched this website? And when do you think the next time you're going to touch this website is, like realistically?
Yeah, realistically, I probably haven't touched the site in a year. I mean, occasionally logging in, updating inventory if I give a hat away or something. I do actually see myself updating it soon in the next month or two. I did a run of all one of one unique hats. So these are all hats that I have inventory of and did a larger run of. But I did one where I've got like 10 hats that are all one of a kind. So I do vision doing drops, maybe putting like one or two of these hats up at a time, posting them to my story or X or whatever, saying like, "Hey, I've got this one hat. If you like it, go get it before it's gone because it's, you can't get another one once that one's purchased." But I say that, and I've been sitting on those hats for a while now, but I do plan to get to it in the coming months.
Okay. Well, if you do plan on doing it, then I mean, if you don't plan, this is the way that I think about this. And again, I don't Shopify is the easiest solution. I mean, or leaving it like this if it works is fine. But my point is I'm always trying to leverage it's this fine line between building a behemoth of a website but also like leveraging the actual domain authority that's on there. Again, the more info and the more content and even products and stuff that you can pack onto a website, the better. Pack onto one singular domain. That's how big domains become big domains. I mean, obviously brands and awareness and things, but like it's literally reputation. People, the SEO people will tell you that all day long, brand authority and all this sort of stuff and domain authority and everything. So in my mind, if you wanted to explore, you could build the same thing kind of out in your main domain. The benefits to that are that everything would then come from craylor.com. Like any emails or anything like that, it would all come from one place. Again, cohesion, simplicity. Any sort of downsides, like the biggest downside that I see potentially happening to you, or the thing that you would have to make sure you would want to avoid, is if you're talking about like drops where they're like only one hat, like it almost sounds like you're racing. People are racing to get them, and like you're building scarcity and like trying to do that. The only problem there is that you start to introduce is like if you have, let's say, 100 people per day coming to your main website for the tool recommendations, like at any point they're watching videos, they're coming to tool recommendations. And then you introduce this drop thing where it's like 10 a.m. on a Tuesday, people are going to see it or whatever. There could be a situation where that influx, this is where you have to deal with like the influx of people coming and actually like getting a deal. And that's when, if you're going to do some of that, it might make sense to leave it on its own
Mm-hmm.
subdomain, because then you can just separate concerns a little bit more. The course thing is probably less likely that's going to happen, but it is also nice to just have your dedicated like install or your dedicated third-party platform to handle the thing. Um, that's again why I really think you need to market that there. The problem with the merchandise stuff is that there's not a ton to market. Like there's not you're not like trying to sell, like you're trying to just show the merch and sell it. You're not really trying to like show the benefits of, again, comparing and contrasting it to the courses. You know, it's two different things. So I'm honestly a little split, and I'd probably have to go deeper on the shop thing. But again, your options are leave it as it is, move to something like Shopify, which I would probably put like pretty low down the list. I don't really know if that's entirely necessary. The only thing that would help you there is that you offload a lot of the risk, so to speak, because like if you have people, if you're driving enough people to those websites and there's a problem with like Shopify, then you're either gonna have to pay Shopify more or they're gonna have to fix it. Like you're not gonna have to deal with any of your hosting and stuff. Because again, I've had situations where people are trying, like there's a lot of people trying to get onto a website and they're trying to like make transactions and make e-commerce purchases, and just with WordPress, if it's not finely tuned, there could be issues with people not actually being able to do what they need to do and make those transactions. So that is a real thing. That's a cost benefit analysis of how much you want to deal with that. And then the last one is bring it into your own site. I'm going to say for the courses, I would say 100% do what we need, do what we talked about. For the shop, I think we let that sit and marinate for a little bit and see what our cost, again, our cost benefit analysis and our pros and cons are there. I don't have a full picture. And until you start, like, if you were like ramping it up like heavily, I think there's different things that we could do there, but there's different options, but not sure if I know exactly right now what the best course of action is there. And I don't think that's super mission critical. I think, like you said, it's more of something that you're looking to spin up here in a couple months. So let's table that one for right now.
For sure.
Hey, real quick, hope you're enjoying the rebuild so far. Just wanted to take a moment to say that this would not have been possible without our series sponsor, BigScoots. They've been providing top-tier managed hosting since 2010, and they're not your typical hosting company. BigScoots owns their entire tech stack, from the servers to the network to the data center, which means faster load times, stronger security, and the ability to customize solutions for your specific site. And if you ever need any help, you can get connected to a real WordPress expert in under 90 seconds, 24/7. And by the way, right now is the perfect time to try BigScoots because they were kind enough to give you, the lovely viewers of my channel, a special offer. If you're a new BigScoots client, you can get 98% off your first 2 months on any of their managed hosting plans. All you have to do is click the link down in the description below and use promo code MJS for monthly plans or MJS annual for annual plans when you check out. Again, that's 2 months of premium hosting for pennies, which is basically no risk. If you've been looking to improve your hosting setup, show BigScoots some love for supporting valuable content like this and give their managed hosting a try today. Now, let's get back to building. Now, on this topic though, I do want to can you go over that CraylorMade Google tab, the one that you searched? All right, so this is another important point though that like I've seen when I've Googled your stuff before. So the first thing is your actual name is Christian Taylor. If you Google Christian Taylor, you get a track and field star. So I just want to make a point. I just want to make a point here that this is a branding point, that if you are going to brand yourself, like, I think you made the right decision here. And obviously there's a whole other backstory to this that we don't have to get into with naming and stuff, right? But if you're somebody like Christian that has a relatively like straightforward name, and like you Google your name and you see like you might not be able to like rank for certain things because people are like actually famous with your name, that's kind of just somewhat bad luck in a way. But it is what it is. So Christian in this case has created his own like alternate, branding, and it works, and it's worked well. So if you Google CraylorMade, like we saw earlier, the biggest problem he has is it's close to Crayola, but it's not close enough, which is interesting here right now on the current Google thing. It's not close enough where it's doing the thing where it says we're showing you results. It's just the did you mean, which is fine. You've obviously, I think probably part of that is you've built up your brand well enough to the fact where it's like, oh, you might have meant Crayola, but there is an entity of CraylorMade. So that's good. That's a good sign. But I want to take a couple notes here, specifically on the right-hand side, because did you do that? Like, did you, this is the shop, right? I'm pretty sure this is coming from like some level of like e-commerce / like Google shopping, I want to say, like shop CraylorMade. And I think that I mean, obviously some of these are craylor.shop, so that's something to consider if we ever mess with that. But my point is that I saw this one of the first times I Googled you, and it's an interesting situation that I'm not sure if you really like want, but also I'm wondering if you had any effect on this. Like, do you remember seeing this? Do you remember doing any of this? Like, what happened? Any ideas there?
Yeah, no, I don't recall intentionally doing this. It wasn't something where I said, oh, let me submit this to Google Shopping. I don't even know if that's a thing, but it wouldn't surprise me if some shop owners have methods of optimizing for this type of result. I did not intentionally do that. I like that something is ranking that's got, photos and stuff, but it does kind of bother me that it's not really the result that I want. I would prefer it to be a knowledge graph result about me or about my content, and not zoning in or zeroing in on the hats, because that's such a small side project.
Right. Scroll down for me a little bit. You got videos from there and then profile. So, okay, so what's happening here? Also, I thought it was interesting. You have like, if you scroll back up for a second, there's like there's a ratings, like a scam advisor trust score.
I
It's
saw that.
85%. Like,
I'm like, where did that? It's auto generated. Like, I don't think it's based on user submitted reviews. It's like some algorithm. Yeah, like I have who is
yeah,
protection, traffic is low, no reviews.
yeah,
Yeah, I saw that too. That's kind of weird.
it's wild. So, here's a couple things. So the first thing is what I'm seeing here almost is that if you like on mine, like at least the last time I checked, if you type in Mark Szymanski, you see my Google Knowledge panel thing, right? And again, I can't control any of that. I made a video on this. Like all I did, people ask me all the time, how did I get this? All I did was talk into the internet. And I made sure all of my shit was as similar as possible. Like, just as a quick aside here, because this is related, Mark Szymanski everywhere, Mark J. Szymanski for the username everywhere, and just pump out content. And that's literally that in 2 seconds, that's what you need to do here. But for you though, just taking this, and if we go back, you can see the similarities here. The similarities on the right-hand side where it starts to have the profiles, it starts to, throw in some of the videos and everything. I think the problem that we have right now though, in your setup, is that it more or less thinks that the shop CraylorMade entity almost is you, and it's not associating the fact that it's just CraylorMade. It's not the shop, because where is it getting this information from? It's getting it from literally that shop website. It's called Shop CraylorMade, that other website. The title of that thing is called Shop CraylorMade, which is something that's interesting because I'm wondering, do you know if you did anything different SEO wise on that website as opposed to the other ones?
I don't think so. I think I'm just using Yoast SEO, which I typically do for all my WordPress sites. I mean, surely I give it some sort of meta title and description. It's weird though, because Shop CraylorMade is nowhere on this first page past that result. I'm sure if I Google it, yeah, I mean, no, this is not even optimized. This is just auto-generated garbage. So, the individual product listings seem like they're optimized. Maybe that's where it's getting it from. But yeah, it's bizarre.
Well, it's definitely getting all of that content on that last section. It literally showed craylor.shop on the right-hand side. It doesn't show it here for some reason, but it's definitely pulling that from there. How long ago did you set this up, would you say?
I think it was 2 years ago.
Okay. All right. Well, if I had to put a note for what we would want to do, I'm assuming that like it's cool that the shop one is showing up, but it's absolutely not the ideal situation. Like you would, ideally, you'd probably want it to be like, well, there's also another slight tangent on this is like, are you Craylor or are you CraylorMade? Because this is I think this is actually a big one.
I would, that's really tough.
This is an existential question here.
I would prefer to be Craylor because it's sort of, honestly, here's what's going on here is I would have preferred Craylor just at Craylor everywhere. Most platforms it's already been taken. I have at Craylor on YouTube. I have craylor.com now, but at Craylor on Instagram, X, Actually, I do think I have at Craylor on LinkedIn, but yeah, at Craylor is taken on some platforms. So I went with CraylorMade to try to standardize things, but the more I've grown, when YouTube rolled out usernames, I jumped on it. I was able to get at Craylor. Now I have craylor.com. So it's sort of been this slow consolidation. It's like any big brand like ChatGPT eventually was able to acquire chat.com. I see it sort of the same way with my end goal. So I guess long term, I really would like to just be Craylor, but the Craylor Made has been what I feel like is necessary from an SEO and username perspective, since just at Craylor is difficult to get.
So here's the thing. Your main platform is YouTube. And you have at Craylor there, right?
Yeah.
And you own craylor.com.
Yep.
I'm not saying this is fully backed, but my recommendation would be to lean into Craylor as soon as possible. The reason being, you already have it. You already have a semblance of it. You already have that established thing. You made the decision to change from CraylorMade.com to Craylor. People might know you. People probably don't know you as CraylorMade. They probably know you more as Craylor. Like, I mean, they probably have seen CraylorMade a lot. But if somebody comes up to you right now and doesn't know your name's Christian Taylor, do they say Craylor or they say CraylorMade?
Oh, Craylor every time.
So if I'm you, I know this is probably a hard decision, but if I'm you, I'm probably like step one, changing my YouTube channel to Craylor.
Yeah.
And I know that you just made CraylorMade more, which is your second channel. But I think that you could keep that. That's less important, like as far as like the brand part there. But you could do Craylor. You could leave it like that, or you could do something else unique or whatever. But I think for you, with YouTube being one, I think you go Craylor and at Craylor.
Mm-hmm.
Big difference, just because it's probably been made for a while. But I think that's one. I think that's one big one. And then you just lean into that. You have craylor.com, you have at Craylor there, you have Craylor as your name. The more that you associate just that word, if that's the way you want to go, because again, even like Craylor Academy, you didn't write CraylorMade Academy.
That's true.
You didn't.
Yeah.
You didn't write CraylorMade Media.
Yeah.
So
That's
I think the more that you do, I think the more that you just do Craylor everywhere, I think the better opportunity you're going to have for moving forward, because you will just lean into that like fully. You always have this stupid Crayola problem, but hopefully over time, like it just like won't matter at all. It's not even that similar. Like it's weird. But so I think that's a play, truthfully, and then that makes it easier. So then like moving forward with a lot of this stuff, you do not have to say made anywhere. You just say Craylor.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know. Is Craylor Tech you as well?
Yep. That is.
Is that like
it's
active?
a dead no, it's a dead channel. But this was when I pivoted a few years ago to the software content, and I was still kind of emotionally attached to the tech hardware videos. This was sort of my consolation to myself was, okay, I'll make Craylor Tech. I have that creative outlet, and CraylorMade is for the software stuff. But yeah, this is a dead channel.
Okay. Well, I mean, just regardless, I guess you keep that. I mean, or you delete it just for, I don't know, simplicity or whatever. But again, the framework in which I operate from is if in your case, if somebody types in Craylor, they get me and they get pretty much like everything about me on whatever platform. Yeah. And again, and also you have to take in a prioritization of your platforms, right? So like you're on YouTube here. This is all you. Like, I mean, I'm not seeing really anything that gets confusing. Crayola one, Crayola, but like, I mean, there's nothing that's confusing here, right?
Yeah.
And again, the other thing is that if somebody is typing in Craylor, we're talking full brand. I'm making this up, like brand organic SEO. Like they are looking for. They already know who you are, and they're looking for you. So many people mess that up. They make it difficult for people that know who you are to find you. Can you imagine how difficult it would be for people that don't know who you are to find you?
And honestly, this is kind of enlightening. I've never tried searching just Craylor on YouTube. And whenever someone's trying to find my channel, I always tell them Craylor space more, because I've noticed if you type, Craylor space made, I know algorithms differ from account to account. But I've found that people will just type it as one word like this, and oftentimes they get no result. So having to tell
Interesting.
them like, oh no, it's space Crayler space made. Just being able to say search Crayler, and all three of those variants have worked here, so that makes me kind of skeptical. I'm in an well, not incognito mode, but like a blank profile. I'm not signed in, so that makes me wonder: is it an IP address thing? Is this really everybody's experience? I know that's a common problem with SEO in general, but yeah, I really do like the idea of just rebranding the channel to Crayler. I mean, I already have at Crayler.
I did it in a full incognito signed out window. I know you can't see it, but you're the first one, other than ads for other random stuff, which I have YouTube Premium, so this is a very weird situation for me. I'm not used to seeing ads at all. Yeah, I don't think so. I think you're at the point now where you've made so many videos and you have such a following that unless tomorrow a celebrity decided to change their name to Crayler, or some big artist or something like that came out as Crayler, I don't think you're going to have an issue with this.
Yeah.
So like, and it's only going to simplify you explaining it to people. It's going to simplify the marketing efforts because you're not going to have to, again, this seems ridiculous, but when you're
No, it really
typing,
doesn't though.
but when you're typing content, even on a website, it's like like if your brand is CraylorMade, you have to write CraylorMade every time, because
Yeah.
maybe it's getting a little bit better now, right? Like maybe we're getting closer to it, but like at least back in the day, and even still to this point, like it's just word, like it's words on a screen, and even people, like if we saw Crayler and we were used to seeing CraylorMade, like you got to make sure that they can make that distinction. So you have to like just beat Crayler into everybody effectively, and wherever you write it, right? So here's another really good example though, and this is an issue. I'm going to be honest with you. When I looked at this, I didn't pick it up until now. We've gone so deep into this conversation. I do not think you can write Christian.
Yeah.
I absolutely don't think you can. Like,
I
that's your
agree.
name. That's what I call you. But like, I might start calling you Crayler just
Yeah.
because like it's
A lot of
literally
people do,
it's literally
honestly.
your name. Like you have to own it. The only people that can call you Christian is like your family. Like I don't
Yeah.
like, because you can't write Christian there because a couple reasons. One, certain people are not going to know your name's Christian. Like absolutely not going to know.
Yep.
You could write in your about, I would say like maybe in your about and like maybe your story on this website, you should write that like, hey, my name is really Christian Taylor, that like whatever you want to say there, like, I'm Crayler. If you want to, you can write it there. But anywhere like that, absolutely cannot write Christian. You have to write Crayler. Which is
Yeah.
easy though, because Crayler is like, I know it's a made up, like, morphed together name, but at least it's easy to say. And it's still like you are Crayler rather than, CraylorMade. I really like this approach. I think this is gonna help. And I think all of these little tweaks like this are gonna add up, and you're gonna just have such an easier, more straightforward way. Now, the problems that I see are there's a few problems that I'm seeing. One is that if you're being really good about this, you're not going to have that logo anymore, and that's going to mess up all your hats.
Yep. I was just
Uh,
thinking that.
so that's an issue.
Yeah.
But
I'm
it's a
I'm open
solvable
to it
issue.
though.
It's a
Honest. Yeah.
solvable issue, though. I mean,
Yeah.
I think you could make another cool logo that just has like the C, or even like somehow some sort of written out, Crayler like situation or something like that. But I think this is a really good opportunity to do like not a rebrand, but like a little bit of a difference. Like I could see, um, I don't know. I'm not a designer, but I'm just saying like one word brand like that, that's only like 6 letters or 7 letters. I think you could do like almost like even like I was just thinking about the hat thing, but like even something that's more of a like just random idea, like with script or something like that. I'm looking at the hat that you're wearing in the picture on the website. Just like something that's more like kind of flowy or whatever. I'm not a designer, so don't
Yeah.
listen to me. Don't listen to me on that. But my point is that there are some trade-offs, but if you commit to that, I think Crayler everywhere is absolutely the way to go. Because right now you have a little bit of even like the site title of this doesn't match the domain.
Yeah. That's true. You're right.
So I think there's a lot of work, a lot of like easy opportunity there for a lot of those things. Does any of that make sense? I mean, I know we're literally just recording this right now. It's the first time
Yeah.
I'm
No.
just processing all of it. But what do you think?
This is amazing. Like people need to hire you for coaching because seriously, this is phenomenal. Like I'm so excited now
Mm.
about the idea of rebranding to Crayler, and my brain went right where you just went before you said it. Okay, well, probably means a new logo, but I'm open to it. It feels like a minor brand refresh, and I'm okay with that. It's, sort of these bigger brands like Google and Verizon, every so often they do a small iteration of their logo. So maybe for me, it's a new icon. Maybe it's even the same word mark, but I just drop made. Just a minor tweak. Sure, I'm gonna have hats that are no longer relevant. Whatever. It's a cost of doing business. Thankfully, I don't have hundreds of hats in
Right.
inventory. But yeah, really excited about that
Yeah.
idea.
Well, the hats are now, like, I don't know,
Vintage.
collector's items. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like you're never going to get this again, so they're even more valuable. So there you go.
Yep.
There's an opportunity there. Um, yeah. So I think that, yeah, you have some opportunities there. And again, just trying to hammer home the point, like even everything else that you do, like you've craylor.link. Like there's actually a lot of things that you don't have to change because I think you've already subconsciously been going that way,
Yeah, you're right.
more so even out of simplicity. So I think that there's a lot there. I do want to go back real quick to the e-commerce thing because I think one way to potentially solve the weirdness of having this come up in the sidebar is to bring it in to the fold a little bit. Now, putting e-commerce into your own website, it's not rocket science, but obviously it's like you would have to take it from here and put it into your main situation. I don't know how many like orders and stuff like you have, like how much you care about any of this sort of the legacy data or anything like that. But that would be a consideration because I do think over the course of time, probably however long it takes Google to kind of like fully re-index and realize like, well, Craylor.shop isn't a thing anymore. That would get rid of it over there. And then
Yeah.
if you just had Craylor everywhere, I do think over the course of, again, I don't know how long it would take, but I think it'd be pretty straightforward for you because you could easily sync everything up and then keep pumping out the content. And now Google is going to start realizing, like, I can actually give you another quick example on this. When we Googled mine earlier and said Mark Szymanski, it used to be Mark Joseph Szymanski. And now, like, I was able to change it over time because I changed my branding. So my point is like this stuff is malleable, but you have to, it's not like configurable, but it's a little malleable. So I do think with your changes that we're talking about here and pulling everything into the fold, I do think you get rid of that sidebar. And I do think
Yeah.
that there's an option to end up doing like Craylor. The only problem that I potentially see with that is that it's not an actual name, like it's a brand. So I don't know if it's going to operate the exact same as, like, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like I don't know how,
Sure.
but I do think that you're going to have a better situation there. So that's something. I mean, you're already getting the videos. The videos actually do kind of confuse me. I'm not going to lie because I don't know how they're associating shop CraylorMade with your channel unless maybe, I guess the only thing that could be doing that is on shop CraylorMade. I'm assuming you have a link to the like you have, I'm sure you have the shop link in there, but if you go over to the page, like, or the website, the craylor.shop, I think it's still up in the
Yeah.
tab there,
Uh-huh.
and you scroll all the way down, do you have, yeah, you probably have the link to your
To
YouTube,
YouTube.
obviously,
Yeah.
like,
And,
so
and in every video description, like my
right.
default description has a link to craylor.shop.
So it's creating an association through that, but also, I mean, I don't know. I think that's how it's getting some of those videos. But I think that coupled with our initial problem of Craylor.com ranking is kind of, it's helping, but it's also hurting. So I
Yeah.
think if we fixed all of that, then I think it's gonna work.
I agree.
So
And honestly, if I run with this vision of a rebrand, new icon, new word mark, the hats are obviously going to become outdated. So I could probably just delete this website. I mean, eventually I may reintroduce hats. Hats are part of my personal brand, so I'm obviously going to have hats with the new logo. But the reality is these have not sold well. So I'm not sure that it makes sense to do an inventory run again. Maybe later as my audience grows more. I don't know, but all I'm saying is like I'm not opposed to the idea of just deleting the shop if there's a rebrand, because then all the photos become irrelevant, all the inventory becomes irrelevant, and I don't see myself spending that money to redo all of this based on the results that I've seen.
Gotcha. I mean, again, I think this is kind of just the natural evolution of things. So I think that, that all makes sense there, and I think there's a place to move it. And I just think the way that, Google, and again, even we're talking a lot about Google here, but really the next iteration is AI. It's working the same way though. Like, you need to make sure that the connections that you are making intentionally with your brand on the internet, the internet is gonna figure this out, like, eventually. I mean, that would be kind of interesting too. Yeah, I haven't done this enough where I'm like, who is, like, what's it think? Where's it getting its information from? Good
Yeah,
thought
I want
exercise
to
here.
know if it's gonna get this. Oh, I see. Oh, look at that.
Interesting.
Look at that. Okay.
Nice. What are the sources? Yeah, what Crayler Media?
Yeah, so
This is super interesting.
dot media, it's pulling everything from dot media, startup grind, a WordCamp that I never actually spoke at because I got sick. Dub, interesting. Okay, yeah, the article with them.
When we dive into this, we're gonna have to really look at Crayler Media and craylor.com. There's something weird, really weird going on.
Yeah, it's there's not a single list. Okay, never mind. No, it's that, yeah, that's a
Well, the
craylor.com
thing again, the thing
attribution.
is though, I mean, there's a couple things going on. One, there is no data on there though.
Yeah,
You know,
it's true, you're
so
right.
that kind of does make sense to a degree. Okay, so we have .com, .media, .academy, .shop. We've talked about all of them. Are there any other things?
I do have craylor.link.
Okay. Oh yes, I was
That's
going to talk about that.
Yeah, this is not WordPress. This is Hey Link Me, different platform. Um, I don't really know if this is a problem. I mean, it's not. I'm not optimizing this for SEO. It's literally a link in bio for Instagram and TikTok. Craylor.link itself is also my URL shortener. So, craylor.link/Instagram goes to my Instagram. That, that's my main what do I do about that if I can't get
Is it
at
gone?
Crayler? But
Crayler's not available.
yeah, it's
This guy. We
it's
got to
and
message that guy right away.
I think on X it's a similar case. It's like a completely inactive account. But if they're inactive, how are you going to get a response when you message them?
I mean, I've tried to get some Instagram handles before. I've messaged people. I messaged one guy. Actually, funny story. I messaged one guy. Probably still have the DMs, and I think he did say that he would give it to me for like $1,000 or something like that. I can't remember what it was, but there are ways to do that. I think you're also getting to the level of status where you could probably start to actually talk to people about making that happen, depending on how much money you're making.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm going to say though. I don't think you need to worry about. I know Instagram is like maybe your second or third platform, kind
Mhm.
of like there, depending on what it is. I don't think you need to worry about that. I think you should put that as like a nice to have in the future, and kind of see, hopefully there's some opportunities there. Some guy with a big back, nice,
Yeah.
and sunburn.
Yeah, I guess I know we're kind of veering off of the web design stuff, but I'm just curious
It's
to
all
get your
branding.
take. Yeah. Would you change the username from CraylorMade to something else? Like, would you leave it as CraylorMade until and unless I can just get at Craylor, or would you consider dropping the made to avoid confusion, but then it's got to be Craylor plus something or something plus Craylor?
Well, the first thing I would honestly do here is, I got to be honest with you. I don't know if I like you saying Christian Taylor on your name.
Yeah,
I just think that you really can't say that anywhere.
that's true.
That's more confusing probably than CraylorMade. I don't know if you have Christian. I mean, obviously, there's some places you're going to leave Christian Taylor, like on random Facebook or something like that. But
Sure.
I'm saying, like, I think that needs to change to Crayler, and I think that will help. Just again, like, through the internet, through the web, you change the description there to just say host of Crayler on YouTube or whatever else. Just don't say made. And then personally, changing the username is probably something I wouldn't do until you can get Crayler, because CraylorMade at least was associated with you. If
Yeah.
you change that, and then maybe, again, this is a whole nother wormhole of like, what happens to these usernames. Sometimes some platforms, they can't use them after. Like if you changed it, then sometimes it's dead. Sometimes it's dead for a certain amount of time. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
available right away. And then there's all this other weird black box shit that happens at Instagram that I know of that you can, if you have a connection, you can either pay or you can get somebody to get these usernames for you. So I probably would stay secure with this name until you could get Crayler. Now you may have to, again, if you depending on how bad you want it, you could probably find a way to get it. But I would change your name to Crayler, and I would change and I would just keep your username until you can get Crayler.
Yeah.
Personally,
Yeah, I used to operate under its Crayler. In fact,
mm,
I still have this login. The reason I changed it was I found, what do people do? They go to search, they start typing Crayler. It would
right? Yeah,
never come up
yeah,
because
it's a
it
good point.
started with an I rather than a C. So that's what caused the unification of making everything CraylorMade. I think I agree with you. I would probably just leave it alone.
Yeah. In
Eventually,
in all reality, you're gonna have a ton of other places that are still gonna say made. You're never gonna change that everywhere. Like you're
yeah,
gonna change it in the big places, but from this is just a branding thing. Like unless you're some huge company and you can scour every single thing, scrub every single thing, you are never gonna get rid of Crayler Made everywhere. You're just gonna get rid of it at the main places that you control, and then over time, it's just gonna kind of like just kind of fade a little bit.
yeah,
So, like that logo is always going to be on the internet, probably somewhere,
sure.
somehow, some way, right? So, just as an example, but you just do your best to move it, in the right direction. The dot link thing, just to go back to that for a second, if you like that platform that you're using, then I like, for instance, what I did was I created a page on my website. So what you could do is you could, if you don't, if you, I don't know if you're paying for this platform or whatever, or if you're sponsored, whatever, but like if you didn't want to do this, what you could do is you could create craylor.com/links, and
Hmm.
then you could just redirect craylor.link to that page. That's what I do with mjs.bio. And that page is actually, it's an actual page on my website. Does it really matter? Not entirely. I would just say cost wise, or I would say like, like management wise or whatever. Again, like this is super standard and simple, whatever. It's messed up with the little logos there. But the point is that like you could create something like this. You have a lot more flexibility, obviously. If you wanted to create something, cooler or whatever, you could do that. Here's what it does do is that every single time somebody clicks on Craylor.link, domain authority in the form of traffic, because
Yeah,
it goes to your domain. That's
yeah,
why I like that. But again, I don't know your relationship to the current platform that you're using. So that would be one, I would say, significant benefit. But other than that, if you like the simplicity of this, if you like the little like easy integrations and stuff like that, you could do obviously a lot of that in WordPress. It's just not, built specifically for that. Um, so there's a lot of options there, but that would be one other thing that I would consider. The last another random thought that I had on that is that the question of, do you really want, I'm not sure if Craylor.link like actually ever ranks for anything. Obviously there's no SEO tied to it or whatever, but the point is, do you ever even want Craylor.link to rank for anything? Like
no,
even if it did rank, like the idea would be that you don't really want it to. So then if you have that, right, if you have that mindset, then it's like you don't really ever want that domain to even have a website. You really just more want it to be a redirect, because that's
yeah,
honestly all it is. So
yep,
if I had to make a recommendation there, I'm probably going to say do what I do, just because it's you're getting the added traffic boost, but you still have the simplicity of what they type in. And ultimately, after they type in Craylor.link, they're not going to look up there anyway. They're not going to look at the
yeah,
URL bar and be like, oh, where am I? They're going to see what they expected to see, which is links to wherever. And then, the first link goes out to your YouTube channel. The next link goes internally in the same site, maybe to your homepage or something or whatever. So that's something that I would consider doing, that just so like that's a redirect instead. And again, we're just kind of bringing everything, more into the fold, whether it's brand authority just from the content side or from the traffic side. I do think that there's some benefits to that. Okay, the last part of this is your link shortener. You're using Dub for that.
yep,
So I'm using mjs.link, which is actually that's actually a different website entirely. Um, it it does, like if you go to mjs.link, I think it redirects to my homepage. because I set that redirect up. But the mjs.link slash whatever would go to, the link shortener, everything. That's a different instance of WordPress because I didn't want to pay or spin up some random link shortener. We had this conversation, but
Yeah.
Dub is fine. But right now, if you go to craylor.link, you go to this. So you made bio.craylor.link, which is on a different platform. Not a big deal. I just think that I'm trying to think if there's any small wins there. I don't really think there is. If you like Dub and it's great, then you do it. I didn't want to put the link shortener on my main domain anyway. And so what you have to do is do it like that. Like if you want to use that in WordPress, you want to use all your same thing, then I just made mjs.bio and I made it its own, or rather mjs.link. Sorry, there's too many now. mjs.link, I made it its own WordPress website, and I used a tool called Better Links to create those things.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I have an extra domain in that situation than you do, and I don't know if I should have done that or not, but whatever.
Yeah, I will say the reason that I use Dub and I will continue using it is you made the comparison earlier of Shopify versus WordPress. I don't want to say WooCommerce, more like WordPress in general and anything within that, SureCart, North Commerce, WooCommerce, whatever. For me, that's the same thing with links, where my links are so mission critical and get so much traffic that it is just not worth the risk to me to have to self-manage or get a managed high-tier WordPress host. It's just not worth it. I've done the self-managed thing before for link redirects. You have issues, an hour of downtime here or there, and I mean that adds up when you have that volume of traffic. Sometimes an affiliate sale could be hundreds of dollars if it's like some niche, like they buy a dedicated server from a host or something. It's like you never know when one of those sales is going to happen. So that's why for me, using that third party platform, I felt like it's worth the investment. But I may consider moving this page to WordPress. This is not Dub, this is Hey Link Me. I know the founder of Hey Link Me, love the platform. He's super cool and has just given me access. But I do see the appeal to having it under the same domain for that brand authority and SEO and all that. So yeah, I don't know, definitely something to consider there.
This is literally printed on your shirts. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like it's ubiquitous. I mean, I don't know the analytics, but like I don't know if you have analytics for craylor.link, but like that would be something interesting to see, like how much traffic is going to craylor.link, because then it would give you a sign. It's like, oh wow, if this traffic was actually going to my website, like how would that change? You know what I mean? Maybe the perspective there, the authority, all that sort of stuff there. So something to consider. But okay, so we got .com, Media, Academy, Shop, Link. Anything else?
I don't think so. I mean, I have like Craylor dot so many different domains, but I think all the rest of them at this point are just squatting domains that aren't actively used.
Gotcha. Okay. Do you have .tv?
I don't, surprisingly.
Interesting.
I have tried to like hold back lately because I want Craylor dot everything, but especially as we enter this conversation, simplifying things for domain authority, then it becomes, okay, what am I ever going to use all these domains for? If they're not going to be a separate web property, what, it's a redirect? Okay, is that really worth the expense every year?
I feel you. Yeah, I'm in the same situation. So, all right. So, and to be clear, CraylorMade.com is no more. Like it redirects, I think.
Correct.
But it literally was this website, and that's where we got some of our issues that we need to investigate here at some point. I know we're getting a little long for episode 1. I don't know if we're going to end up making this into 2 episodes or not, but all right. So I think maybe to kind of try to wrap this up, I think we've gone through a lot. I think we've had some breakthroughs. In our next chat, we should talk about kind of a little bit more of strategy, kind of how we're going to start doing some of this, laying these things out and actually doing some work. But the last thing that I think we should do right now is we've talked about all of this, but we haven't looked at anything. Do you have perhaps any like visual aids in the form of Search Console or like analytics or anything like that? And I know that I think this is important to talk about this because if somebody is going through this with their clients, then they are going to need to know what could go wrong. And I think in certain cases here, we're kind of seeing a little bit of that because like you changed from, right? You changed from CraylorMade.com to Craylor. And then from that, we had some like different weirdness in like the ranking in general. Like, honestly, I still need to investigate to see like exactly kind of what happened here. So I think if we can get some level of a visual on like what, you know, the status is, then we could kind of have a better idea.
Yeah, totally agree.
All right. So we got Craylor.com here. What are we seeing?
A whole lot of nothing.
So this is super interesting to me because when you brought this up to me initially and you said like, you know, you said it didn't rank and all that sort of stuff, it was confusing to me because what I believe are at too high of a point for this to be happening. Like you are getting too much attention on the internet for this to be the case. I'm sure this is still messed up. Like we're going to need to fix this. However, at the same time, we don't have to pull this up necessarily, but do you know roughly how many, like when you put up information on your YouTube channel, in the description, are most of the links craylor.link?
Yeah.
/ something?
Yeah,
so,
almost all of them.
So the question would be like, okay, so let's just sit here for a second. If somebody clicks on one of these links, you on the craylor.com property are not going to know if they clicked on any of this. So over in Dub, again, we don't need to go on there we don't need to jump in there or whatever. But my point is, over in Dub, can you see all of this? Can you see all of the? Okay, so it is giving you a good idea of it, and you are getting a lot of clicks through those, obviously.
Yeah. Oh, hey, look at that.
Look at that.
Yeah, so this is just last 24 hours.
And that's like all your links. You got 360.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So a lot of that's probably bot traffic. I don't know that I believe that there's 255 organic clicks to craylor.link top level.
Well, the thing is, though, I mean, like, isn't craylor.link... So here's the other thing. Like, craylor.link, isn't that what you put everywhere?
Well, I mean, yeah, but this is the top level, like
No,
the
I get
equivalent
it,
of.
But in your Instagram call to action, in your YouTube call to action, in your profiles, isn't it craylor.link?
Yeah, Instagram for sure. TikTok, I'm not big enough to have a link in bio yet. I can't remember on X if it's craylor.link or craylor.com. I think it's craylor.link. I'm not sure I believe that. I'm not sure I believe that I'm getting 7,000 clicks in a month through those profiles. Maybe.
I mean, you'd have to talk to Dub to see if they do anything, I guess, about like bot traffic or whatever to a degree.
I guess we're going all over the map here, but let me sign into the link in bio provider because I think they have their own analytics too, which I guess that could be equally skewed with bot traffic in theory.
Also, while you're doing that, there's .co I saw as well.
Yeah, that's a hot mess. I would love to not pay for that anymore, but I used .co as my short link for so long that I'm kind of stuck paying for that in perpetuity just for redirects. This is showing a bit more of what I feel like is an accurate picture. Let's do last month. Yeah, this seems more realistic to me. So something in Dub is going whack. I'll reach out to them about that. They're super responsive and open to making tweaks and stuff. So I'm curious to hit them up and be like, "Hey, what could be going on here?"
So this is telling us though that like you're creating.
Wait a minute. All traffic that goes to your custom domain, bio.craylor.link, won't be captured here as we don't have access to your domain. We recommend adding your own Google Analytics tracking pixel on your custom domain. Interesting. So they're claiming this is all just to heylink.me/Craylor, which I don't even market that anywhere. it's the same page, but it's wow. Okay, that's curious.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Hey Link is a great tool. It's for me though, it adds another layer of complexity because now the analytics stuff always gets messed up regardless. Like, I mean, there's no perfect. Everybody tries to stop at the bots, but it's just outrageous. So like, it's never going to be perfect, and then adding layers of weirdness to it is just kind of like tough. So, I think you see, like this is the flow. Like if you logged into Plausible, if you have Plausible set up on craylor.com, then you would be able to easily see, okay, how many people got to craylor.com/links, and you could
Yeah.
just do it however.
Since I uncrippled it, it's showing traffic again.
There we go. Okay, nice. All right, so and we have to talk about this. So like, if you zoom back out to that last view, so right there a few days ago, what do we think happened? Well, let's take a step back. When did you change from CraylorMade.com to Craylor.com?
Uh,
Roughly?
like beginning of March,
Okay, beginning of March.
so I
Okay, so not too
should
long.
be able to. This
Yeah,
is
what
the
about?
weird thing though, is in theory. Okay,
Oh
yeah,
wow.
so we see. Yeah,
Wow.
so look at that giant drop off. Let me
Yeah,
see
we
if I
gotta
can.
see all
Let's go to
this.
all time.
Oh shit. Okay. All right.
Yeah, interesting.
All right. All right. So this is interesting. Okay, so this is a good visualization of what you were getting, like, I don't know, I guess just on average,
Uh-huh.
like to craylormade.com. Then you made the change, the property got messed up, like the connection between Plausible and the new account got messed up. You were dead there for like a couple months, and now you're back. So let me see here though. While you were using Plausible in the end of 2024 here, early 2025, what's that peak? Is that like 20 a
20.
day?
Yeah, 20.
Okay, so like 20 visitors in a day. So the Craylor.com isn't getting a ton of traffic, but again, I think so much of your traffic is literally circumventing.com. I think this is
Yeah.
really the whole issue here. I think you made this change. The domain had no authority because it wasn't used before effectively, right? And obviously it wasn't used by you. So like the domain had no authority. I don't know if it necessarily needs warmed up, so to speak, but it had no authority. It had no content. You injected a little bit of content on there, but it's still kind of thin. And really it doesn't get any traffic because nobody goes through it. I really think that like making the dot link, the slash links thing is gonna help you because
Yeah.
it's gonna help you. Like that's where a lot of your stuff goes. I mean, once you start pushing people more towards the website as well, when you have things to show them, like your recommendations and all that sort of stuff, we could do a lot there. Like once that happens, you're gonna have, it's even gonna be a bigger snowball. But I think like just pushing the link traffic through there, at least the dot link one, I think that could absolutely help. I'm honestly thinking now, like I'm wondering how beneficial, like the short link thing is kind of like a blessing and a curse. Like it's
Hmm.
easier, but it's also is kind of you like losing some of just the authority of people going through your website, your actual domain. But it's good to see that this is fixed though. Um,
Yes.
so that's good to know. And it's also good to see that it really doesn't look like your traffic has really dropped off at all. I mean, that was a peak there right before.
Yeah, I think
And
top of the
yeah.
year, people get that drive to work on their website. In fact, I got a lot more consultations booked right at the top of the year, which I thought was
Yeah.
curious.
So I think that's good. Okay. So that paints a pretty good picture. We still have to investigate. The one problem that's still an investigative issue is like the search console part of it, because there's nothing kind of going on there. But just to rule anything out, can you go to a new tab and can you type in site colon craylor.com? So this is like the trick where you can see like what is, indexed and everything like that, and it just tells you to go to Search Console. Obviously, you'd see this in Search Console, but it's nice to actually see it like this. What this is telling me is that these pages are indexed. There's just like not a whole lot of, for lack of a better way, like value that people
Yeah.
are like seeing from them in a way. Also, I do want to mention this. Can you click on, yeah, like this is a
And
great
that's a
example.
garbage. Yeah, this is a
Well,
garbage page.
what this is though, is this is a single. So click on real quick while we're in here. Can you open that? Can you go to the dashboard of this website?
Uh-huh.
We haven't been in WordPress at all this whole time. So we could talk about, maybe we'll do this real quick at the end here, but you talked about Elementor. You talked about, you used ACF for some of this. So you have product reviews as a
Yep.
custom post type, right? We'll
Yeah.
probably end up changing that, but that's like a good starting point because like, you have an actual, you're managing the stuff in a way. It looks like that's the only custom post type you have
Yeah, that's it.
um, currently. Okay. But like you're managing them like that. So what's happening on the front end is when you do this, it automatically creates a single for each one of these.
Right.
And that's what we were just at. It's
Yeah.
product review is the slug for the custom post type. If you go to that, it's an archive for all the product reviews that might not be styled. Um, yeah, it might not even exist. Like, but that's like where your archive would exist. We'll fix all that because it probably shouldn't be product reviews. It should probably just be like tools or products or something like that. But then those are the singles. And this is really important because when people start getting, I have a whole course on this dynamic data thing. When people start getting into this, it's like you're learning how to manage the data, but like it's difficult because it just doesn't make it easy to know that there's like archives, there's singles, and those things automatically get generated. So now they're not even pages, like they're pages in the web sense, but they're really just like URLs or those screens effectively is one way that I see them. Like, because that is getting generated and they can be really powerful, but they're not really powerful if they end up ranking or even just end up getting indexed in Google and they're just like not built out. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
you didn't utilize them. You just did the grids and you did a loop, and then your link doesn't go to the single. It just goes out to the thing, which we could still do
Yeah.
all that. And honestly, in some cases, it ends up making sense doing it that way because you don't want to, if you don't have enough content for a single for every single one, it does make sense. But ultimately, you kind of want to do, you want to make it as rich as possible as far as the content side of things.
I want to have enough. I can have and I should have enough content for a single on every one, because my vision for these pages is they are heavily curated around basically comparisons. Like, this page is based on my last best VPN comparison. So in that video, a product only gets recommended if I've tested it and I can definitively say, this is the best overall VPN that I tested, or this is the best budget option. So all of the tools that are listed here, I have extensive experience with. So I have no problem doing a single page that's way more comprehensive. It's just, I guess, a mix of my own laziness and just not knowing the best way to set up that structure in WordPress.
Well, we can definitely do that because that's something that I've tried to do as well. So like let me ask you a question though. So like for each one of these, I'm going to give you the 202 because I think you can handle it real quick, but we're not going to do it right now. So the 202 of this is, the 101 is, have a grid, click onto one of these things, and then just have information about like ExpressVPN or XYZ or whatever. Like that would be like on that single that we saw. The 202, the way to think about this is, you are a content creator. A lot of the content that you deal with is around these different types of tools. So for instance, the reason that these have made it onto your pick list for VPNs is for a couple different reasons, right? Like maybe you actually utilize them and that's great. That's like whatever. Like you just use it and it's great. Maybe you're an affiliate and you want to rep it because you use it or whatever. But maybe not these ones. I'm not sure how many VPN videos you've done, but I know in other categories. Are there any tools, like from this list, can you go to a tool for me that you utilize, you like, it's going to be a tool on the website, and you've made videos about them?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Kinsta, Hostinger, WP Engine, like
Okay.
those are three right there.
So let's use Hostinger as an example. So let's think about the customer for a moment, or the visitor of this website. They may have seen you, they may have found you, whatever. Maybe they like watched a video about some random thing that you're doing now or whatever. And then they find your way to your website, and then they say, oh, he has, Christian Crayler has like pics of what he wants. And they're like, oh, I've been looking for some hosting. So they find their way to this page. So they're like, Hostinger, interesting. Now, instead of get started, it would probably be maybe like learn more, or just like click into it. Like forget the way that looks specifically, but the call to action could be one more click. It could be two things. It could be learn more or get started or whatever. Get started could do what it does now because you want to get them to there, and that could be an affiliate link and all that. But let's assume there's another button. let's assume there's a button and that button goes to the single page, right? So we're thinking about now a page that says Hostinger at the top with the logo and everything like that, and like in sections that are going to put on there. You could obviously talk about Hostinger. You should put some level of your thoughts and everything in there. But here's where the content management system actually comes into play. Let's call these right here, what we're looking at, tools. These are tools, just to make it simple. You have a custom post type called tools, and they have information, everything like that. There's tools, but then there's also videos. Like another custom post type could be videos, because you make a lot of video content, right? Okay, well, now we have tools and videos. Well, wait a second. Some of these tools, potentially the majority of the tools, could be related to specific videos. Like, how many Hostinger videos would you say that you've done? Not necessarily integrations, but like, how many, like, anything that, like, if I was interested in Hostinger, I could get something out of watching this video? At least a couple?
Yeah,
maybe?
At least 3.
Okay. So now you like, let's say you had a big list of your videos, which could all be automated. That's 303 class. But let's say that you had a big list of your videos in the back end, right? In the custom post type, and you have all these tools in the back end and in the custom post types. You have all this data back there. Now there's an opportunity, when you have all that, to relate tools to videos.
Yep.
And what this does is, now you think of all the information now that this website has on it. It has a video, potentially a video library. I mean, it doesn't have to have the video library. You don't have to go that crazy. You could just have a video thing with a link to the video. Like, we don't need to go crazy here, but just let's try to conceptualize, because I'm talking about a lot of shit here at one time, because this is exciting. But the whole point of it is, you could have a page with Hostinger that says information about it. You could have a section on that page that says, hey, you're interested in Hostinger? Here's some content that I made about Hostinger. And you're not managing this stuff like independently. You are relating that specific tool to those specific videos, all on the back end. And then you're just setting the singles up, like the single template up, to show those relationships. It's when it works, and when you have enough data to make that happen, when you've created those relationships and you've set up those templates like that, I mean, that is chef's kiss. That is the way to use this thing. And you are somebody that has all of the tool knowledge, right? We can put all that in. You have all the video knowledge, and then there's even more ways that we could go about this as well. Like on the back end of my website, I think I have like 8 to 10 custom post types, because so many things are related to one another. So like in your case, I see tools and I see at least videos. You could also have courses, like if you actually had like some level of course that like revolved around like hosting or something like that, or like sponsored by somebody or something. There's just a lot of opportunity there. We'd have to really discuss like the data architecture part, or like what makes sense with what. But there's definitely a lot of other low-hanging fruit that, like, you just put in the data and then you relate it on the front end. And it doesn't take management on the front end. It's just all kind of on the back end and then set up that way. So
yeah,
I hope that wasn't too confusing.
No, not at all. No, I figured I probably need additional custom post types. I have no idea what they are. I don't think of myself as a data engineer. And that's where I've always been intimidated with ACF or some of the other tools we're going to explore to make custom post types. Is I just don't know how to think through these concepts and go, okay, this is the data architecture. This is how they all relate to each other. That's where I get lost.
Well, I mean, it's understandable, because it's very foreign to a lot of people. And then until you like really dive in there and like, just play around with things and make mistakes, or just like have like a good framework for what it is, again, like I said, it's easy to get lost at first. So, I think we've made some really good progress here in like an hour and 40 minutes. So
yeah.
To recap, we know that there are some things to change. I don't know if you want to change them in between now and the next time we record, our second episode here. But from a discovery perspective, the big notes that I have are that leaning into Craylor rather than CraylorMade is going to help in a lot of different ways. We're going to consolidate most of the stuff into .com, like media, the marketing leg of Academy at least, potentially the shop stuff, but that's kind of to be determined. .link, the main like redirect to flow through that, could definitely help. And then all of that, again, subsequently is going to help on the search engine optimization, AI optimization side of things, because that shop.craylormade thing is probably going to not pop up anymore.
Right.
If you can lean into Craylor, you're going to end up seeing more of that on the internet and on the places where, Google is scraping and AI tools are scraping that type of thing. And I think that the next phase, our next mission here could be, now that we have a plan and there's some of those low-hanging fruit items that could kind of take care of in the meantime or whatever, we could recap that, but then also we could start to actually think about a little bit of the site architecture. And as we're doing that, we could think about and introduce some of the tools that we're going to be using. So again, I mean, just at a high level, we got ACSS, we got frames, should hopefully speed up the development process, Crock-a-Block for the data piece of it, like the data architecture and custom post types and everything like that. And really shouldn't need too much more. Yeah, I mean, the only other, we'll talk about this in the next one because this will really get into like our site architecture. But the thing that I would say, if there's any homework, would be to think about what your actual call to action is. Because if you have like a proper website, right, like empowering your, you to make great business, great, all this stuff, that is good. Like, we're definitely gonna need to show who you are. But this is the business concept, the business question that I think needs to be answered for our next part of this. Are people coming to the website, or are they going from the website to somewhere else, like to the YouTube channel? I would argue that even though you're a YouTuber and most of your time is dedicated towards YouTube, your website is still your hub of your business at the core of it. Now, right now, obviously it's linking out to a bunch of things, but if we make all these changes, this is going to be so much tighter and so much more powerful of an area for you. And we didn't even talk about the mailing list. I know that's something that, we've talked about off camera.
Yeah.
Is just another way to monetize the audience, or even just to connect with the audience. And I think like that is an option for a CTA. I'm not sure that watch now on YouTube is the best primary CTA, because a lot of people are probably going to funnel here from YouTube or from Instagram. They're probably going to know about you. I think it's a weird spot being a YouTuber, because as your main thing, because you feel like that's where you want everybody to be, but you can't control YouTube.
Right.
So even though it's the main thing that people know you for and the main people are finding you, I think you still want to pull them into the website realm and get them to either book a call with you, join your mailing list, buy a course or buy something. And I think that's the part of your business currently right now that, just from what I'm feeling, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's the part that if we continue to look at that and we just do the, at least like the version 1 on this next website, that could be really powerful, because then you have your actual place that you can manage all that stuff from, and you can more so control what you're selling to people, really, like how you're monetizing, like any of the level of the audience or what that type of thing is. So I would just say all that to say, sleep on the idea of what your main 1 or 2, should probably be 1, but you could have a secondary calls to actions are with this website. Ultimately, it's to show your picks and your tools and all this other stuff, and like link out to things. But like, if there was one thing that this website could do for you, like what would you want? What would you kind of want it to do? And that, again, might evolve over time, but that's the thing that we're going to kind of need to know as we start to, I feel like, make it a little bit and kind of like really design what we're going to think about, with the actual craylor.com website moving forward. So,
yeah, absolutely agree. Wow. This has been incredible.
I'm happy it's working. I really enjoyed talking about this stuff. Again, we didn't even talk too technical today. Obviously, a lot of discovery, a lot of like branding type things, but these are all, hopefully, if you guys watch this whole thing here, hopefully you got a lot out of it, because these are the types of discussions you have to have. 2-hour conversation to like completely think about your brand or your client's brand. If you're doing this for client work, like if that's the thing, make sure you're like trying to make sure they understand the value of this, because if you can make these decisions now and you can think about it, spend a little bit of time up front, it's going to save you a lot of effort down the road with them. So yeah, hopefully you guys got a lot out of this. Christian, thank you for episode number 1 here in the books.
Thank you for having me.
Hell yeah. Links to everything that we're talking about here, they might change. I mean, well, at least go to craylor.com.
That's the safe one.
But depending on what you're seeing, links in the description down below. Make sure you're following Christian and sub to him on YouTube. I'll put everything down there below so you can go check him out. But more to come here. I'm thinking at least 2 more.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Probably
we're gonna see how much we can get done in each one. But appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much, and stay tuned for the next episode in this series.